Namaste. Welcome to Such Conversations Matter. Conversations which represent the future we should have. I'm your host, Saurabh Nanda. Today's guest is Satdeep Gill. Satdeep is a very passionate linguist. He has studied Punjabi language in Punjabi University and he has completed his studies till MPhil. He's also learned French. He speaks English very fluently. He understands Hindi very well. He's also currently learning the Indonesian language from Jawaharlal Nehru University. So, what does Satdeep do? Satdeep is a contributor to the Wikimedia Foundation, and he currently helps in preserving culture and indigenous languages, endangered languages, digitizing texts which are on not on paper, maybe on parchment, maybe on palm leaves, and so on. And he helps preserve these cultures with the help of local communities in those areas, in countries like Indonesia, in various parts of India, Cambodia, etc. And he collaborates on these projects with people from the EU, from the US, teams representing the Wikimedia Foundation itself, and so many others. Satdeep has been a pioneering voice for conserving languages, promoting Punjabi, and so many other aspects. He has been, able to work and showcase his work at global forums, and most recently including the G20 forum for culture. Satdeep comes from Patiala, and we met at an online discussion with a major media house in the country, and that is when we started sharing notes and we started connecting with each other. That was, I think, a couple of years ago, and finally we have been able to find time to talk about his life, his experiences, and how youth can participate in preserving culture using technology. So, without wasting any more time, let me invite him over. Hi, Satdeep. How are you?
Um, as I say in Punjabi, Chaddi Kala Vicha, which is that in the state of bliss. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. That's an amazing answer. I think probably this is one of the most, I would say, holistic answers that I've received from the different guests that I've hosted on this podcast, and thank you so much for that. Now, taking a cue from that itself, the last 3 years have been really, really stressful for the entire world. And this is the first question, major question that I ask all my guests also. How were your last 3 years? What were you doing? What did you experience? What did you learn from it?
Um, yeah. So it was indeed stressful. Everyone knows pandemic. Everyone was forced into their places, houses. Many people were displaced. It was really um, something we had never imagined, something like this, the entire world would come to a shut. And that specific year I had plans to travel to 7 different countries, and I had so much planned out already. And then that one thing happened and it changed everything. And now whenever I travel, I become a bit anxious. And it's just that uh, like that one incident has changed life and its perception, and how we even plan things. That that's not something that you can do. I'm going to do this in this specific year, or I'm going to do this next month. It's just this very moment you have, and it's what you do with it. Otherwise you never know what's going to happen the next moment. So planning, I think, is of no use. I was actually able to make good use of that the lockdown period. I I am in a position of privilege. I do recognize that, because I had a steady job during the pandemic. I work online, so that continued, and I was also given relaxation that you can work less. That was really good. But I like not traveling, and what do I do with the time then? So I actually read 50 books in that year, in the year of the pandemic. So that was for me. And then in the following year again, close to 50 books. So 100 books in the 2 years of the pandemic was something that I was able to do. And I think that filled some gaps in how I how I learn, um, how I interact with other people. So yeah, I was able to make good use of it. Other than that, now after the pandemic, now things have started opening again. I've been traveling for work, and even personal travel. I've started doing that again. But as I said, it's not the same. Things have changed.
You're so right about it. And I mean, it fills my heart to say that you could use that time so well in both intellectual and personal growth pursuits. That is amazing, Sandeep. Um, and now the next thing that what I usually ask is, and this also has very organically flowed from your answer. Um, how has your journey been so far? Career journey, professional, personal, because you're the best person to summarize all of that.
Yeah, I'll take a bit longer period, to come to the entire journey in a way. So I come from Patiala. It's not a very big city, but not a really small city either. That's where I grew up, in a rented house, and I changed many schools while I was still in school. Like I was still a kid. I had to change due to various reasons. I just changed uh, 2 3 times from one school to another. And about something that connects directly with what I do today. That is when I was in my 10th standard, or when I came to the 11th standard. So my school only had, after I did my 10th, I scored really high. It doesn't really matter now, but then back then, it's a big score. Um, and then my school only had non-medical. And then if I wanted to change, I would have had to go to another school. But then, that's also something, inertia, where you're comfortable in a space. And especially because before that, I had changed schools a few times. I didn't want to change again. So, so I just enrolled myself in non-medical in the same school. When we were 30, we were the second batch. The school had recently started, not 11th, 12th, and just non-medical for now. And yeah, so we were 30 students, and all 29 of the students were going to coaching institutes. I was not. I was the only one who would just go to the school, read a bit, and then people were actually judging me. Why are you not preparing for IIT, or this or that? But I had in some way, I had come to the conclusion that that the direction where we're going, that we don't have enough opportunities to become an engineer, and like everyone is becoming an engineer. Doesn't seem like that's something I would want to do. So actually, what I was doing in my 11th, 12th was, I started learning Urdu. My father already knew it, so he helped me, and it just took me a couple of days, to be really frank, to go through all the letters, and then start forming some words. Um, so I was more into what I want to do, what I enjoy doing, not what people say. Oh, if you become an engineer, this will be your salary, and then you'll be really happy and you'll be set for life. Life, set ho jayegi. So that was something, not really a motivation for me. Around the same time, we got a computer and internet connection, and I started exploring, started blogging in Punjabi. My father and myself, we were starting doing it, and I also learned about ads, Google ads, and all that. I can put them if we do this and that, and I started having this conversation with my dad then, that we're getting this much traffic. If we place ads on the blogs, and if we then create special content that get more ads, and we can start earning from it. And we were, as I told you, we were living in a rented apartment. My father he he did he didn't work. He wasn't working at that point, and my mother was working in a private school, so like not in a really good economic um situation at that point. So yeah, I'm just having this conversation with him, and I told him, we can do this. We can start earning from it, and that's I really appreciate my dad. He stopped me there, and he said, you should not think about money until you're 25. Until that point, you tell me what you need. I'll figure it out. So we do have some farming land. We did have some resources that if we have to tap into those, we can. But you need something to further your passions. You tell me, but you don't think about money at this point. While you're still not even 18. So he stopped me there, and I really thank him for that. And what he really asked me to do is, you do what you enjoy. Don't play a lot of video games, but other than that, do what you enjoy. Go out, play, or learn what you want to learn. Have new skills, learn new things. And that's when Urdu started, became a thing. And we were watching videos or other reading poetry around it. And so I didn't go into ads, but and that was really good. And around the same time, I discovered Wikipedia. I was just one random day I stumbled upon Wikipedia back in 2009. um, and in those days I didn't know, like, that was the first time I'm on that platform, and I didn't know what a certain platform is. I would just the multiple platforms, website I used to visit them, and if I see a sign says create account, I would just do it. And that's what I did. I didn't realize what this little website is about, or pretty big, I didn't know. But I just created an account, and then I saw the edit button, and I just started doing some explorations around it. um, and then, like, in the in around a couple months later, I discovered that there was a Punjabi Wikipedia as well. That a Punjabi version existed, which had only a few thousand articles. That's when I brought my father in, because he has a master's in Punjabi, and he's into literature a lot, and all the other sciences as well, like into social sciences, economics, history. Like, he's that polymath in a way. So that's when I told him, check this out. There's this website, and it's in Punjabi, and there's hardly any content, and we can do it. So, and we were both we were blogging before that, as I told you. We were someday writing. He would share a short story there, or we would share an article. I would share some video of Nusrat Sahib, or some other Persian song that I recently discovered. So there were connections in a way. The work we were doing in our in our personal on our personal blogs, and then there's this platform which connects other people. There are more people than you work together towards that goal in a way. So, uh, so that was in the turning point. We he wasn't into technology much, um, but he had the literature background. And I, being a young kid who was exploring technology, I was into technology, but not into Punjabi, because I didn't have Punjabi as a subject in my non-medical. Like, that just didn't wasn't there. Uh, so we started working on that. We both created accounts. We both started working on it. And he would help me with Punjabi to improve my Punjabi, and I would help him with the technology part. So in this process, my I completed my non-medical, scored fair enough, not really good, not really bad. Um, but I wasn't gonna do engineering, that was for sure. So when I completed it, now I'm in the conundrum what to do. And then my father, he took me to the university, the Punjabi university. By that time, we had um, we had constructed our house just 1 kilometer from the Punjabi University. So he one day took me there. He had some friends and other people he knew. So he took me there, and he took me and he told me about a few options, that there is a mathematics department, there is an economics department, and then there is a Punjabi department. And I was like, yeah, I think I might do mathematics, because arts is not for smart people, right? So that's what I was going to the university thinking about. um, but then, I met a few people, and then I learned um, how difficult it's gonna be, in a way that I won't have a life if I pursue that. And the head of the maths department said that we have classes from 9 to 4, and then you'll have to work on whatever assignments we give you for the day. I was like, that doesn't seem like something that I want to do as well. So um, I got into Punjabi basically on my father's insistence, in a way, or like his recommendation. Um, but I also had in mind that this will give me enough free time to work towards my passions, which was learning languages, um, and music as well. So I after with Punjabi, I had that free time, in a way that I started going to guitar classes. Um, I also enrolled myself in the evening course in French at the Punjabi University itself. So I was doing a bunch of these things at that point. But that really, the course which I didn't realize back then, that helped me a lot. The BA bachelor's honors in Punjabi, so that really helped me a lot. I learned Punjabi. I started writing in Punjabi, every subject, not just that one subject you had in school before 10th. So and the most important part, I met with people who were interested in Punjabi, and I got them interested in contributing to Wikipedia, to the Punjabi Wikipedia. So we kind of built that community around it, and in a few years, we had 20 odd people who were really contributing to it. So that was yeah, the first kind of part of the things that I got into university. I got my friends from the Punjabi and even from the French class. There's some people there who I got interested, and we started working toward the shared goal. Um so this then I finished my bachelor's around 2014, and by then I was sure, okay, this is, I'm really into it. And then I did my master's in Punjabi from Punjabi University as well. And I continued doing it. There were professors there who were really supportive of me contributing to Punjabi Wikipedia, and also encouraging others to do the same. Um, um, One important milestone or event, not milestone, event, was that in 2013, until 2013, everything I was doing was, I just knew there is a website, and I was just, asking other people to do it. But in 2013, there was an event called Train the Trainer, happening for the first time in Bangalore by this research organization called Center for Internet and Society, and they were inviting Wikipedians from 10 odd different Indian language communities. And as my father and I were really active, they invited us. Like, it was all on the website. I wasn't connected with anyone on email or anything, but on Wikipedia there was this message that, we invite if you're interested, um, and more details here, something like that. So that was a really important event. So my father and I, we both went to Bangalore. We both were in a flight for the first time, um, and we had that intensive 4 day training, and it was called Train the Trainer. So basically, they equipped us with skills, with knowledge, so that we can engage more people. So then we started outreaching. We started, reaching out to other universities or more people, and there was kind of a robust community that was created. And in 2015, Punjabi Wikipedia was the fastest growing Indic Wikipedia. It grew tremendously at that point. And I was invited in 2015 to the largest Wikimedia conference we have, annual conference. Every year it's at a new country. That time it was in Mexico. So I got a scholarship to attend and represent the community there. And again, that was a really important event because I'm then got connections and got to know that there is a world beyond online contribution, and then there is this really intelligent community of passionate people who all the mission for all of them is to contribute to their language or to their focus area in this resource of free knowledge, which is there is no advertisement, no one is directly earning from it. Like most of the people with associated with the projects are volunteers, and um, so that was a really crucial point. And I was happy that at that year I even got an honorable mention. I was asked by the founder of Wikipedia. He invited me on the stage, and I've just that was a magical moment. But I made connections with other international community members who are all working for um, their languages or areas. And then we also thought that we should have a big conference in India. uh, so the following year, 2016, I with my fellow community members and with support from some other national Wikimedians, we did Wiki Conference India, which was the second time it was happening. The first one was in 2011, and there was no momentum. And then in 2016, we did the second Wiki Conference India, um, which was really important. The executive director of the Wikimedia Foundation came, and some board members came because India is a really big region. A lot of potential in the region. Um, and then I started forming connections with people with the international community. I was also working besides Punjabi. I also started working on supporting other people, other communities, also beside Wikipedia, on other projects around digitization of books. So we have multiple projects which work on cater to different areas of knowledge. And the following year, 2017, because I had become this leader at the national level because of the conference, because of the work I was doing with other people, in 2017 there was an opening at the Wikimedia Foundation, a part-time role, where they wanted to work with someone who will help them have conversations with some Indic communities, some conversation about what the vision for the future of the Wikimedia movement is going to be. Like, where do we want to be in 2030? That was the question the foundation was asking, started asking in 2017. And where do we want to be by 2030? So, and then I applied, and that's the first like a part-time role I got. And then there was like another one. Um, but then the really important thing when I got the a full-time role, and which is what I'm the team that I'm now working with, the culture and heritage team. They had an opening and they wanted to hire someone who has experience with digitization, who understands how the specific platform where we do digitization called Wikisource, how that works, and who is not from the Western countries, because that's where most of the foundation was situated back then, and they wanted to have this expertise in other regions. What are the challenges and what are the opportunities? Um, so that's and it was back then the role was called underrepresented knowledge, focused on that. So, and that was something I applied for, and the interview process took 6 months. I heard that there were 200 candidates from around the globe. Um, but then that's the position I got. And the really important thing here, is uh, not as important, but still is the fact that the date on the agreement that I signed was my 25th birthday, uh, which my father had asked me to not think about. Like, even though I had started doing some work before that, but like in this job as a so now as a senior program officer in the culture and heritage team, I'm working, and the projects I'm focused on today is around manuscript digitization. That's the most important project I'm supporting, and we're working in Indonesia, and we're expanding into other regions. Yeah, I think I'll just stop here with yeah, with that crucial point. The 25th birthday.
Wow, amazing, Sadeep. That is such a nice, it was actually a very eventful journey that you have described in a very seamless manner, and I'm so happy that I could share that with all the listeners here as well. A few things. I mean, I'm a very curious person, so I want to ask more and more. So, but there were so many things, and I think I'll just start from the beginning. You started off when you said that um, you were forced to, in a way, take non-medical subjects, which is physics, chemistry, and maths, along with English and one more subject in
Physical
India.
education.
And yeah, sure, why not? And I completely relate to it because I was in a similar situation, and I talk about it this a lot because I'm a career consultant. So I share my personal story with a lot of young students, telling them what has transpired in my life. You might not need to do that. And after scoring very well, just like you in 10th, I was talked into taking science. And although I wanted to take maths and maths and biology and history and geography, but that combination was never just is just not available in most schools, even in India even today, and that is just sad. So I took physics, chemistry, maths, and bio. So I went one step further, and that's when I left. So in 12th, I left bio because I didn't want to be a doctor because I didn't like the smell of hospitals. And that's when I took physical education, like you mentioned. So just in order to finish 12th, never really prepared for engineering. Took a crash course after 12th, and that got me to an engineering school. And then the other question was, what do you want to do now? Which engineering do you want to pursue? And then we asked one of my uncles. He said, आजकल कंप्यूटर बहुत चल रहा है, तो कंप्यूटर ले लो. फिर that's how I took computer science. And 1.5 years later, I realized I should have taken chemical engineering, and 2 years later, I realized I should have taken humanities subjects after class 10th. So that's the story that I give. And I think you've just proven the point that there are so many young people who are forced into this choice because of societal pressure, herd mentality, and whatnot. That they are never really truly able to explore the way you have been able to do at an early age. And you've shared, you've been so courageous in sharing your family situation at that particular time. Financial situations don't really matter in these contexts again. If somebody wants to explore and is given the opportunity to do so, then they can do wonders like what you have. In fact, in various points of your story, I felt like I'm talking to a Wikipedia entrepreneur, like a young person who saw, okay, Wikipedia is doing amazing things, they lack this, let me fulfill that with what I can do. And it is so amazing and so heartening to hear that you and your father share such a beautiful journey throughout that entire period. And like, if you would have ended up in an engineering school somewhere, probably this might have never happened to you. Meeting visionaries like the founders of Wikipedia, meeting so many different amazing people from ends of the earth, coming together with a single purpose of preserving what is the best part of human civilization, their culture, their wisdom, their language, their art forms. I think as an engineer, it is very difficult to get into that. But I hope somebody who is really listening to this can take an inspiration and just go for it. In fact, I was just talking to Bharat in the previous episode. He's the founding editor of Logical Indian. Uh, he could not really escape engineering like me, so he he started his journey in the third year of college, right? And he became a journalist without having any journalistic training, and made Logical Indian one of the most viral platforms. Before that, I was talking to Ashutosh. He's from IIT Kharagpur. He's the CEO of Jagriti Yatra, and amazing things again. And I found a common thread that if you are coming from a place of privilege, and you mentioned that right in the beginning, that is one of the most beautiful things that you've said, that if you realize that you're coming from a place of privilege means there you have good support. Your parents are willing to, um, I would say, sponsor, not just financially but emotionally, your experiments with life. Then I think you are at a privileged place in the country or in the world today. Please use that privilege. If you are one of those privileged people, please use that privilege, because if you do that, you will end up doing something beautiful, impactful, something that the world truly needs. I certainly feel. So Sadeep, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Taking a cue from, we will have to answer this mystery now, because you kind of left all of us at a cliffhanger. I think that comes from your literary and poetic poetry experience. What is your 25th birthday? Like, what is your birth date, first of all, and when did you turn 25?
Yeah, so my birthday is 2nd November, which some people who love Bollywood might know which Bollywood celebrity it coincides with. And my 25th birthday was 2018.
All right. Now we have the answer to that. So then we can move on to other questions. So Sadeep, you studied Punjabi, and currently you are studying further at JNU. So please, do tell us about that as well. Secondly, I wanted to know how. What have you observed in the country today? A lot of youth who probably want to pursue languages, and that too, regional languages or Indian languages, Indic languages, or even Indo-Tibetan languages, like whatever you might name it. If you want to study language in a country like India today, and English or some European language is not your first choice, for that matter, even Hindi is not for your first choice, how difficult or easy it is? What are the challenges associated? What are the youth thinking about it? Are they even interested in doing that? And what is the kind of decision making process that goes in their mind?
Yeah. So I'll touch upon first of all my education, what I did after my master's. So after my master's, I did my MPhil in Punjabi from the University of Delhi. And then I had a choice: do I want to do my PhD or not? So I decided not to do my PhD at this point, and I'm like I might at some point in life, but I just didn't feel like I have a like a problem statement which I want to solve with my PhD. I do have other statements that I'm solving with my work, or with my other endeavors. And currently, I'm actually doing a certificate course in Indonesian from JNU. So, and this is basically learning Indonesian was something that I was inspired after my visit to Indonesia last year, and also because now we are implementing a project there called Wikisource Loves Manuscripts. Wikisource is our transcription platform. And as part of that project, we were in the first phase, we are working in Indonesia in three different islands, three different small regional languages, not small, but not the national language Indonesian. So other three regional languages. And we're working with UNESCO. British Library has also joined. There is a research institution which is leading it there. So, but basically, when I went there, I realized that English is not the only way you're gonna, if you wanna work with the larger globe. Like Indonesia, if you go there, most majority of the people don't speak English. Like there is a history. It wasn't an English colony; it was a Dutch colony. The Dutch people didn't. They were so racist they didn't teach them Dutch. So even Dutch was not the language, and they were really quick in adapting and forming this national language Indonesian, which everyone today, most of the people speak. So yeah, so just so that I'm closer to that place, I've made some really good friends, and it also helps me understand when the project is being implemented because I'm leading that project. So that's why I started learning Indonesian. Now coming to the youth, and for them to learn languages, especially regional languages and not the major European or other languages. I think the most important aspect, the question before that is, um, why do you want to do it? Or what do you exactly want to do with it? Um, Even in my bachelor's, when we were doing Punjabis, most people were not there by choice. They were there. They thought, we did our 12th, and this seems like the only option, or that yeah, like we either do a regular bachelor's, like a regular BA, or we do in the university we do this okay BA honors in Punjabi. But it's not that conscious a choice, what we want to do with it. Maybe, yep, it's for everyone though. Like it wasn't as conscious for me either. um, but you also evolve, while you're doing it. I think that's also a thing. But I think still it's important to reflect upon it, and it shouldn't be that, yeah, okay, I did, um, as you said, I did non-medical, and now engineering is the only option. Like you should first stop for a while, think, reflect, think about what you want to do, what you are passionate about. If you are passionate about languages, or even a particular language, let's say um, someone says, okay, I want to learn Tibetan language and work towards it, and I want to study it and then work more towards it. So I would tell them that's amazing. And the thing to do then is to assess what's the state of that language, especially online. So like in today's world, I think even humanities is about digital humanities. So you have to start forming those connections. You have to think about, what's the state in the digital world. Can I directly contribute to that aspect? If it's not really digitized, there are loads of Tibetan manuscripts, for instance, which are sitting in monasteries. So there needs to be some plan around it. How do we bring them online? How do we transcribe them? How do we translate them so that people who don't know Tibetan can also understand? So there is so much work in all these fields. So it's for the person who's pursuing that language to kind of start forming those connections, or start asking those questions. What do I want to do with it? What is it that interests me? If it's just that if it's just as simple as, okay, I'll just do it because there is no other options, then I would just feel sorry for them in a way. And so I think just that, start asking the difficult question is what you are passionate about, and not what will make me earn more. Like that's something that helped me. And I think, as you also rightly pointed out, privilege is plays a big role. um, but I think, to have a happy life, to have a life that you feel, that you enjoy, the work that you enjoy, it's really important, that you follow your passion. Sometimes it might be not a lot of money, but you'll be doing the work that you enjoy. So that's not something someone can take away from you.
Absolutely. So right. I mean, see, this is what we do at my company. And this is what we try to tell people, and we help them, make those, make that, I would say, uh, discernment that this is, what you're really passionate about. This is something that you are probably infatuated with because of herd mentality or something else. So there's a fine line, and most people today, young people, they are overstimulated, and because of that, they just don't know how to make those, lines, and how to adhere to which. And we solve those problems on a daily basis. Completely understand, what you're saying, Sati, because uh, like, if you ask me, the entire notion that something that you have to study or do in order to earn money is crippling our creativity as a human civilization, because there is so much else to do rather than just, have some money in your account which you can then go on to buy the latest car or something. So, that being said, I also wanted to know, like, so when most people, you're saying that most young people who enter into learning languages today, they are entering because it seems like the most organic path possible at that particular time. right? And you pointed out something very important. How can I contribute towards digital aspect of this, because digitization is here to stay. Yes, it is quite uneven right now in various companies and various countries across the world, but eventually everyone will reach the same plane if we have to move together. um, let's say somebody who is really passionate about languages, and do you think there are enough opportunities in our country today to learn those languages? Because I know JNU is an amazing institute where you can learn multiple foreign languages. Even at undergraduate level, I think they have 9 different bachelors for 9 different foreign languages in JNU. But then, are there other places of academic excellence available easily to people not having access to places like Delhi or Bangalore or somewhere else?
Yeah, so if you're talking about, you know, not the directly regional languages, but other languages from across the world and other smaller languages, let's say, that is definitely not something that we actually have um, outside of this big institution. Like GNU has a course in Pashto, for instance, and for people who are working in on those languages, for them, besides digital humanities, one path is that they work as interpreters with the government, or with institutions like UNESCO. So they do have opportunities, but then this is really like that's not as big as JNU has only limited seats and all. I completely agree. So I think if someone is into languages today, I do feel, if you have that passion, if you want to learn languages and you want to work with languages, so there are a lot of resources online. I'm these days I'm learning Persian from a website which has this really amazing course. Like, it has different courses, it has a video, and then it has some reading material, and then it even has a quiz, so I'm able to assess how I'm doing. And that's not, I agree, that's not the first thing I want to do. Like, I was actually studying Persian from a professor in Iran, and we were having 2 lectures a week. But after the last year, when there were protests in Iran, I'm unable to form a connection again with the professor. I don't know where he is now. Um, like, so I was learning it for a year, and then I was at that impasse. What do I do now? And it's after looking around for 6 months, I was able to find this really good resource, which helps me learn the way I want to learn. So I think that's really important, if you're learning languages, that you find um, something that matches your learning pattern. But that's one website. And then another platform which I use a lot for learning languages is Duolingo. Like, it has a lot of languages, and even some endangered languages. Like, they're teaching Hawaiian, for instance. Um, so yeah, if it's just about learning languages, and if you're passionate about learning languages, I would say there are enough resources online. Um, and that was actually, I wanted to learn Spanish when I was in bachelor's, but I couldn't, and I had to do French because there was no Spanish teacher at the university. So uh, I agree with that. I think, yeah, I think, but there are not a lot of people who would just want to learn for the sake of learning. Like, most people, the question that we, really, uh, किसे आप इटा सवाल scope किया. Like, I think that is definitely something more majority of the people are going to ask. So I think that's what also makes them gravitate towards the bigger languages, where they know there are direct, if you learn English, you can start teaching at an IELTS institution, for instance. So I think that's what forces them into these direction, is what the opportunities are, or what they think the opportunities are. So I think if we just start thinking outside of this box of these, that there are these government jobs, or there these very uh, set patterns, or this is something you can do after this. If you stop thinking about it and you start pursuing a language or your interest, with that open mind, that those institutions which we have been so accustomed to are not going to stay, and then the world has actually revolutionized, and there You have to think on your feet and think about, learn the new skills and think about how you want to implement them. There is a lot more out there, that you can then work with. So, for instance, for working with languages, let's say if someone wants to work with languages, they're really passionate for their language, for their endangered language, or for another language, there are organizations like the Endangered Languages Project. It's one, which is a US-based organization, and it hires interns, it supports projects, and there are multiple other organizations which support and which is in a way directly related to your career development. Um, it's just thinking outside that box. Yeah, the set pattern that we have. So yeah, I think just just do it. Whatever you want to do, there raw nikal janda hai. Like you find a path. Just you shouldn't be as worried initially.
All right then. Well, now you know if you are passionate about languages and you know how we call it in our psychometric assessments. If you have linguistic aptitude, um, then you will probably learn many languages in your lifetime anyhow, because your mind will keep on pushing you to learn more and more. You'll keep on getting curious about languages. And now if you have a usable device and a decent internet connection, you know, possibilities are there. At least you will never face that I cannot even begin. So you can begin, and then you know things will happen as Sadhi very rightly pointed out. Ra nikal janda hai. You will find a way. The path presents itself or manifests itself. Very beautiful, Sadeep. Sadeep, I wanted to understand from your experience of trying to preserve culture and languages using technology, using collaborative platforms, and having people working in your teams from across the world. Um, how has technology shaped human culture itself? What has the impact been, um, because of having screens in our hands? Or and what are the cultural aspects, like definitely it has had an impact, but then which cultural aspects actually survive, which cultural aspects thrive, and which cultural aspects just die off because of this catalyst called technology? It's not no longer a catalyst, it's a necessity now. But yeah, what is your view on that?
So that is a really big question. um, Yeah, like one major thing which happened because of technology, which everyone knows, is globalization, and everyone uh, trying to, in a way, become homogenized, or everything is becoming similar. Like, I was reading an article from the Time magazine about the youth and the narcissism in the youth. And the article was called the me generation. The one thing I wanted to point out was that what it said, that youth across different countries today have more in common within each other because of the platforms that they use than they have with their fellow country people from other generations. So yeah, like that's how technology, it has already changed in many ways, and how it's going to change in the coming years is for us to see, especially with the now with AI and all, everyone is talking about it. How that's going to changes is something to see. um, but I'll talk about cultural preservation and cultural revitalization, how that is something that technology has played a good role in. Um, one project which I mentioned earlier as well is the manuscripts project I'm working on. Um, so there is a everyone knows the most famous island in Indonesia, Bali. Um, so they have the Balinese language, or the Bahasa Bali, and in which they have for hundreds of years they've been writing on palm leaves. They've been writing, their literary heritage. Basically, it's in those palm leaves, and it's about various topics, about medicine, even about cats, and then religious texts are there as well. And but then palm leaf doesn't have a very long life. Um, because it's biodegradable. So what digital technology, how it's playing a great role there is that those are being digitized. A lot of them have been digitized, but currently, as part of the project I mentioned, Wikisource loves manuscripts. More manuscripts are being digitized, and by digitized, I mean scanning, yes, but then we were able to engage, or the community in Bali was able to self-organize into then bringing the text online. So transcribing it. So not just having images which no one can search, or it's difficult to go into what do you want to read. So they have been transcribing, and they've transcribed thousands of those manuscripts on Balinese Wikisource, or Balinese Wikipustaka, what they call it. And uh, the technology there, it plays a role that the keyboards, we had to develop on-screen keyboards for them with the Balinese script, which wasn't really supported well. So technology has played an immense role there in for them to bring their heritage online. And now, because it's manuscripts handwritten, it's they have to manually transcribe. Like, there isn't any technology which supports them in, as we do. If we take a picture of a text today, we can get the text in our phone, right? We call it, that's called OCR, optical character recognition. But then for handwritten Balinese manuscripts, that doesn't exist. So that is something, as part of this project, we are currently exploring. We're working with this EU, European Union cooperative called Coop, um, and it has a technology, it has a software which they claim, rightly so, that given enough data, initial data, that they call ground truth, it will create a handwriting recognition model for any language in the world. So we're currently working with it, and hopefully we'll be able to create. We have created an initial model, and it's the results are not really good at this point, but we're going to make more improvements in the coming months. We're hoping that sometime really soon we'll have a really robust technology that reduces that volunteer manual labor into bringing those manuscripts online, and the community, which has a majority of most of their most of their heritage already scanned, can also bring them in the textual form, so that it can reach more people. And then we can think about even translation. And then, as translation is also, machine translation is being developed, so how machine can actually assist. So um, it's not just human doing everything. How can machine assist here in a good way, even in translation and also. So I think the possibilities are immense. It's about us, how we want to, how we can wield it, and work towards not just preservation but revitalization. So here, the Balinese community is also teaching, because people were forgetting the Balinese script. They're nowadays using Latin script, ABC, for writing Balinese. But then with this manuscript, they're now bringing that script again online. So if someone wants to read it, they'll get more interested, and they'll read it further, and they have it embedded in the university there in Bali, where students of Balinese language are now being involved in such projects.
All right, uh, that's actually very very insightful into the world of how technology is helping. And clearly there were some passionate people who were passionate about technology who created such technologies, including Wikipedia itself, which enabled many people like Satdeep and others to actually start working on this. Which brings us again back to that passion question. If you are passionate and if you have the right resources, then you should probably focus on doing something which can, improve our experience as a human civilization, rather than, just generating a lot of cash. Again, it is a very idealistic utopian kind of a statement, but then again, how it works is very different, which is why I'm asking this question again, Sandeep. So when you say, the students at the local university who are studying Balinese, or the Balinese Bahasa, how many of them are inherently passionate about using this technology and the processes that you and your teams have created in order to preserve languages, or are they just doing it because it's good employment, and they have the skills for doing it? Like, do you have you been able to observe that passion in them?
Yeah, so first of all, there are professors there who are contributing this project already. So that's been a big plus. And for the students, like obviously, different all individuals have different motivations and even different dreams and hopes for what they want to do. But there is a subset of people who are interested in their language, and I see that especially in Balinese people. Um, that they are very much committed towards their culture more so than I sometimes believe that we as Indians are. Like they take their culture, their practices really seriously. So I do think that they are a bit more passionate about their language and their culture. Maybe there are factors like too much tourism is kind of having a negative impact, and they see it directly, and then they want to now work more to preserve it. So I do see a subset of students there who are really interested in working towards it, and they also have some employment opportunities after they complete their bachelor's. And one of them, oh, I'm not really sure how to translate that word, but the Panulu Bahasa Bali, and that basically for Balinese language, they're hiring these individuals whose job is to go to different villages, um, teach Balinese language to those villagers. Like they speak Balinese, but tell more about Balinese language. Maybe teach the letters, the script, and then also create a repository of which household in that village has how many manuscripts, and create a database around that as well. And they keep moving from one place to another, and like that's they have the jurisdiction, but that's something that's a really interesting role that I find that people then can go into, but then also helps them to be connected with their community. And as we were saying, as you were saying, thinking about money or passion, I do believe, and then there are obviously books around it. If you want a life, everyone wants a life of happiness, but if you want to have that life, there is it's must that you have a sense of community, a sense of passion, a sense of service. If you're doing something for others, only then you're able to feel that fulfillment, that you're living your life, but you're giving it back to the community, because no man is an island. We are all part of this larger community, and it's I would say purpose for everyone to give back to that community. And when we do that, then we feel life is worth living. And yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. No, very, very beautifully put, Sandeep. And in fact, this is something that I try to tell a lot of my mentees as well. And it has its own spiritual connotations, and that's what a lot of people need to probably realize. So even when you mentioned the me generation, um, it's okay to do me in the beginning. Even if you read evolutionary biology, you will realize that there are a lot of coping mechanisms that we develop when we are adolescents and young adults, because we are at that time we are in the stage of survival, that how will I survive for the rest of my life. So you do that, okay, fine, that's good. So but even if you're becoming, let's say, a surgeon or an investment banker, at the end of the day you are contributing to the medical community over there. you are contributing to the investment banking community or your own company over there. So you're always going to be part of the community. A lot of people actually mistake community with their family or with the place that they come from. It's not necessary that that is your community where your purpose of life will be fulfilled. So a lot of people have to, completely go out of their village, city, country to somewhere else where they realize their true purpose of life. But eventually, all human beings are social animals, and they're looking for like-minded people. And you had also mentioned, that young people today, they have more in common with other young people across borders, playing video games together or being in the metaverse watching trailers of movies, than they have with people around them, which is perfectly fine, till the time they realize that um, the core principles remain the same, the fundamentals remain the same. If eventually you do a life of service, and there is nothing better or beautiful than that. Sadeep, amazing. It has been a pleasure, talking to you about this. Before we conclude today's podcast, two small questions I would like to ask you. The first one is, any career advice that you would like to give to young students and professionals who would probably want to emulate a career path that you have chosen for yourself?
Yeah, I think I do believe there aren't there aren't uh, careers that are already designed. It has to be custom made in a way for you. So you you carve your path, and you decide um, what is something you're passionate about, and it will follow. Whatever you need, that will definitely follow. You need to be resourceful. You need to think about skills you need. So you need to keep upskilling yourself. But if you have that passion for anything in particular, not just language, like anything in general, um, life will find a way.
Beautiful, beautiful. um, this is exactly the basis of the entire career description that I give to people. Career is a journey, it's not a milestone, and people fail to realize that. um, Beautifully put, Sadeep, thank you. uh, One last question. If you were to give a single sentence, a one line, you know to the world, to make it a better place, what would that one sentence or one line be?
For me, passion is the thing. So maybe I'll just say, um, keep the passion alive.
Beautiful. Keep the passion alive. Nothing better than that. Sadeep, it has been a pleasure hosting you, and thank you so much for taking out time to be here and having this very very insightful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been a lovely discussion.